I get it, you're staring at that price tag on a launch monitor and wondering if it's really worth turning your garage into a mini range. A buddy of mine was in the same spot last month. He'd tried a couple of cheap apps on his phone, got frustrated when the numbers didn't line up with his on-course scores, and started hunting for something that could actually give him data he could trust. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. He was torn between splurging on a high-end simulator and sticking with a basic swing tracker, so I dug into what the SKYTRAK STMAX actually delivers before I told him what to do. First off, the biggest question most people have with a launch monitor is, will the numbers feel real enough to shape my practice? The STMAX claims tour-level accuracy, and the way it gets there is pretty clever. It blends dual Doppler radar with photometric cameras. In plain English, that means you're not just getting a single radar read on ball speed, you also have visual confirmation of clubhead path and face angle from the cameras. When I set it up in my basement, the system asked me to place a small target mat and a few feet of clearance, then it walked me through a quick calibration that took less than a minute. The whole process felt like you're setting up a professional training aid, not a piece of consumer tech you have to wrestle with every time you want to hit a few balls. Now, who actually benefits from that level of data? If you're a serious weekend warrior who already tracks stats with a GPS watch, watches shot-by-shot data on a mobile app, and maybe even works with a coach a few times a year, the STMAX will feel like a natural extension of your routine. The GOLFTEC Speed Training module, exclusive to this model, adds a layer of coaching content that breaks down swing speed, launch angle, and spin in a way that mimics a live lesson. I tried the speed drills with a friend who's trying to add distance to his driver. Within a few sessions, he could see a measurable bump in clubhead speed on the screen and adjust his grip without having to step outside for a launch monitor rental. On the flip side, if you're just starting out or you only hit the range once a month, the STMAX might be more than you need. The system's full suite of data points, ball speed, spin, launch angle, clubhead path, face angle, can be overwhelming if you don't have a baseline to compare against. For a beginner who's still figuring out how to hold the club, a simpler device that gives you just ball speed and distance could be enough to keep the learning curve gentle. The STMAX also requires a stable power source and a decent amount of floor space. It's not something you can just pop onto a cramped balcony and expect to work flawlessly. Let's talk about the practical strengths that matter after you've unpacked the box. The first thing I noticed was how solid the unit feels. The charcoal-finished chassis isn't just about looks, it actually helps hide the inevitable dust and scuffs that come with indoor practice. The dual USB ports make it easy to connect to a laptop or a tablet, and the software syncs automatically, so you're not spending time fiddling with drivers or firmware updates. The data streams in real time, and the overlay on the screen is clean, no cluttered graphs that force you to guess what's happening. When you're trying to fine-tune a wedge, you can see spin rates down to the single digits, which is something most entry-level monitors won't bother to show. One area where the STMAX shows its limits is low-light performance. The photometric cameras need a decent amount of ambient light to track the clubhead accurately. If you're practicing in a room with just a single lamp, you'll start seeing occasional track lost messages, and the radar will keep feeding numbers, but without the visual confirmation, the data can drift. A quick fix is to add a softbox or a couple of LED panels, but that adds extra cost and setup time. It's not a deal-breaker for most serious users, but it's worth mentioning if you plan to use the unit in a basement that's rarely lit. Another practical consideration is the software ecosystem. SKYTRAK's platform is robust, with features like skills assessments, bag mapping, and the wedge matrix that let you log each club's performance over time. I found the bag mapping tool surprisingly useful. After a session, the app tags each shot to the specific club you used, so you can pull up a history of how that club's spin and launch have changed week by week. That level of detail is great for a golfer who likes to obsess over numbers, but if you're more about just hitting a few balls to feel loose, the extra menus can feel like a distraction. The navigation is mostly intuitive, but there's a learning curve the first few times you dive into.